I'm with a couple of amazing guests today from Siemens. I have John Krasnokutsky and Bernd Raithel. And you guys are industry veterans. I've talked to a lot of people from Siemens now. I went to the Manufacturing in America event in Detroit just a couple of weeks ago. But before we dive into Siemens, I want to dive into kind of each one of you guys and talking about the history. So to start off with, share your title, what you're doing at Siemens, but really before that, what got you into the industry? And so, John, I would say let's kick off with you.
Sure.
How did you get involved in manufacturing, what we're doing?
Yeah, so I've actually been doing this for 26 years with Siemens. Actually, June will be 26 years. After I went through college, Siemens was recruiting, and I thought it was a great company, the things they were doing. So I said, I have to work there. And throughout my career, I started doing everything within the company, but I've always been in what we call the drives kind of realm, if you will. So it's drives, motion control, and working with what we would call like production type machinery and that kind of thing. So I did my application engineering, product management, business development, and today what I do is I'm responsible for the product marketing and management, as well as working with our channel partners and doing various programs and promotions within our business unit for Siemens. So been in and around that for, like I said, many years.
26 years, yeah.
I love going to the customers. I love seeing how the machines work, how functions and everything else. So it's what excites me, and how do I apply our solutions to what the customer's needs are.
Yeah, absolutely. Bernd.
Hi. So actually, I'm around for 27 years.
Okay, so he's got you beat, John.
He beat me.
Also for a long time. I didn't think it would be that much, but actually it's 27 years. I started in R&D developing control systems for real-time motion control for steel plants and HVDC, power transmission and things like that. Worked in automotive plants and steel mills, modernizing steel mills, building my own machines at that time in a smaller company before I joined Siemens. Within Siemens, Germany, 2008, I was responsible for creating the S7-1500. So for 5 years, that's what I did. I came to the US in 2019, and what I'm doing here is basically doing product management marketing for all our PLCs and HMIs, but more important, also focus on edge devices, new technologies. How can we leverage new technology to improve automation further and bring it to the next level and next step?
Absolutely. So I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to interview Raj when I was in Detroit, and he was super passionate about the upcoming workforce. So we were able to talk a little bit about the digitization, the future of manufacturing, but not as much as we wanted to. So I want to dive into that here. When I think of manufacturing, I think it's an industry that's constantly transforming. And in order for companies to be more productive and to thrive and to grow in the industry, they need to move to this level of digitization. Adopting technology to be smart manufacturing, to move into that. If we were to break down what digitization means and what it needs to include into the future of manufacturing, where do we start? What are some things that we should know that we should build off of?
You want to start?
Where do you want to start with that?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I think overall manufacturing is getting more and more interesting because it's not as dirty, not as greasy anymore. All the IT technology, all the computer technology is more and more getting into this, into manufacturing.
Yeah.
So it's also more exciting for all the kids out there, for all the students, really to get into the manufacturing field, because suddenly you're using all these new technologies, all the new AI, ML algorithms, whatever, also to solve manufacturing problems. And you use it on real-world problems and not just to predict what the next customer is going to buy.
Yeah.
So, but really to solve an actual problem in a real machine, real production process. What we need for it is also a much broader skill set before. Yeah? Yes, we still have PLCs and drives, but you also need to know about IT technologies, how to write Python scripts, how to program machine learning algorithms, and deal with all of that. IoT is another big topic. So I think overall it's getting broader, more exciting, and it's more dynamic than it was for the last years.
Yeah. Well, and the whole digitalization space, right? The products are developed nowadays where you don't just have the hardware piece, you have the whole digital side of it, right? So what Bernd was saying is that there's a technology change requirement with the personnel, but also with the products. right? So now you're not developing a machine hardware-wise and figuring out does it work or does it not work. You're actually doing it in the digital world first. And so that's a totally different skill set at the beginning.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And then the one thing when I look at what manufacturing was, people kind of put it in this box, right? You have a machine, and inside that machine you probably have a PLC that's driving some drives and some motors and some controls of some safety. But now manufacturing is really expanding beyond, right? Now all of a sudden we're talking about computer science, we're talking about AI, we're talking about deep learning, machine learning. All these other industries are now, converging into manufacturing. And one of the hot topics that are out there right now is AI. And I think what a lot of the audience is familiar with is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And in that sense, let's stick with ChatGPT for an example, and I think you guys could talk about that because you have a demo of that in your booth here at Automate.
Yeah.
But what is ChatGPT OpenAI going to bring to manufacturing? How is that going to help manufacturers?
Okay. So I think it'll help engineers to be more efficient with what we're doing in the very first place. So it's really about the programming of machines. You can come up with a code faster, you be more flexible, you can write your documentation faster. Maybe ChatGPT just helps you to document your program. Nobody wants to do that and likes that job. In the actual manufacturing space for predictive maintenance or controlling a robot, that might be another step that needs to be taken, because right now everyone has a chance. When you see something coming out of ChatGPT, you can look at it first. You can think about it. ChatGPT cannot control a robot, so it's just too dangerous. But it can help with the engineering process, with the documentation, and we have a couple of examples right now where we want to talk with customers to find out what they really like about it and where they think it's going to be helpful for it.
So, manufacturing just has this persona. It's this dark, dirty, dangerous, dull industry, right? It's the industry where our grandparents used to work, and with you guys being in the industry for 26 and 27 years, you have truly seen the shift of manufacturing to where it is today and how it's grown. But I still think a lot of companies struggle with generating interest in manufacturing. And how do we get that future workforce excited about what we do?
Yeah.
And when we talk about solutions like ChatGPT, and hey, instead of you doing this boring manual task of creating a drawing and documentation of this process around this machine for its tooling setup, or an OEM script of building out a 200-page reference manual, we can leverage tools like AI to solve that. But what else could we do to help generate interest? And John, I'm going to start with you with this. Okay. What else could we be doing? What else is Siemens doing to be generating interest in the industry?
So, Siemens does work with education, right? So there's that part of it where we go out there and make sure that the education realm understands what the products, what kind of things we have to offer, what's out there, what's coming. But it's not just with the colleges and what have you. It's also working with things like FIRST Robotics, and that kind of area. You want to start off a little bit when the folks are young, right? They want to understand, see this stuff, right? Make them get some excitement. I know when I was younger, when I saw these, things like robots back in my day, or machines, it's like, well, I want to know how that works, right? And that's what got me interested in going into my education, and then obviously my career, because it's exciting. And so you want to try to get the young generation thinking that way. So a lot of times when we do events, we try to bring those college kids or the high school kids, or even the lower education classes into our events to say, this is what we're doing, get that excitement going, and then bring them on board. And in fact, Siemens actually does that with the colleges. We bring in interns to move them around the different businesses so they see how each business operates, whether it's PLCs, whether it's drives, or something else.
So I love that you bring up drives. And I'm going to use this as an example for what we're doing, right? We're here at Automate. There's over 750 exhibitors on the show floor.
Yep.
Everyone's bringing new products to the industry to solve problems, to bring the latest and greatest. What are we doing to make sure that we're still following the standards? Do standards need to change? And John, I think you could talk about this a little bit more, but how do we make sure we're keeping the standards that keep us safe, that keep things productive, that keep things moving forward?
Absolutely.
How do we continue to make sure that works?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, some of our folks are also on various standard committees, right? Whether it's UL or NEMA or IEC. That's very important that we stay engaged with that kind of industry and understanding. But if I look at on the drive side, for instance, if I look at the Siemens drives, our third generation Dynamics family of products are coming out now, and they're following the latest UL 61800-5-1 standards. But that's not just because of today. That standard was actually put in place by UL back in 2011. And the idea was to replace the UL 508C standard, which was actually canceled in 2020, February 2020. But Siemens has been doing that with even our older generation drives since the inception of the UL 61800-5-1. Why is that important? Much more stringent. There's much more requirements for testing, much more requirements for safety and security within the drive products, for instance. And that's something that we're very, very keen to make sure that we always do and maintain that level of standard that is above and beyond what's out there or it's what's really required at the moment. So we want to be ahead of what that requirement is. So before something gets canceled, we want to be knowing how to do it before then. And that's what we do.
So we're talking about new standards, but I also want to talk about new products, right?
Yep.
When we're out there, we're making new products. I think the one thing that manufacturing has in mind is we're this polluting industry, which I would say we've done a lot. We still need to do a lot, but we've done a lot in the last few years to make us an industry that is aware about our impact on the environment.
Yeah.
How can companies, or what are you guys doing, or as an example that you can lead off, what can companies be doing better around sustainability and manufacturing, not only with the manufacturing processes, but the products that they're designing to go into?
So across the board, whether it's for PLCs or drives, I mean, I can speak a little bit to that. When we look at our next generation of products, or any generation of product development, we're not looking at that, okay, how do we develop that product and then that's it. We actually start from, how do we resource those materials?
Yeah.
And are those companies meeting our sustainability requirements, our CO2 footprint requirements, our sustainability requirements? How are they meeting it? So even when we go into the design of that product, it's not just about building that product at the beginning stage, but that design at the beginning has to figure out, okay, what happens when the end of life cycle of that product happens? What do we do to recycle it? What do we do? Can we, when we build it,
beyond the product life.
Beyond the product life. Once you build it, at the end, when it's done, right? 10, 15, 20 years from now, how do you take it apart and reuse it or reconstitute it into the world, if you will, without taking up that additional carbon footprint or resources or whatever the case may be? And that's something that we're very, very, very big in. And that's all of our new generation products are following that life cycle platform.
So I'm going to try and squeeze into one more question right now. You talk about 10, 15 years from now. Now, John, you mentioned, how long have you been at Siemens for?
26 years.
26 years. And Bernd, 27 years, right?
Yep.
When we look at beyond the company, I would say companies must have a successful culture for individuals to stay at a company for a quarter of, or for even longer of their working career, right?
Yeah.
What creates a great company culture that wants you to stay at a company for a quarter of a decade?
That's good. You want me to start, or you want to? I mean, for me, it's been the people that I work with.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it's definitely the people, and there's always this statement. Most people don't leave a company; they leave,
a manager, boss,
right? That's a common statement, and I have to say I've been very fortunate in that respect, and I'm assuming the same thing for Bernd here. We are given that opportunity to grow. We are given that opportunity to test ourselves out.
Yeah.
Failure is not a problem. It's a growth opportunity.
Yes.
Right? And I've always experienced that. I try to implement that in my teams. I want them to succeed through, if it's a failure, that's fine. Because that tells them, oh, I learned something, and now how do I do it better?
Yeah. Bernd.
There's not much more to add. I think you covered most of it. I think also there's always something exciting new coming up, either from a technology side, from applications.
Yeah.
There's always something new aspects that come up, and that always keep it exciting and make it interesting.
So the culture, and then the innovation that the company keeps driving forward.
And one more thing I would add to that is, and we both talked about it in our intro,
Yeah.
we've cycled through a number of different positions within our careers,
Yeah.
right? And so that's an exciting thing to be able to do. And that also creates, oh, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
And how do I fix that first so I can be better to do the next thing? And so that's
Absolutely.
also exciting.
No, it's great. John, Bernd, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Just, man, we really did the whole gambit of talking about that with manufacturing, but that's what makes these conversations so amazing. So thanks everyone for attending. We'll be back real soon. This is Jake Hall, the Manufacturing Millennia Automate Live.